This is the Average Guy Network, and you have found Home Gadget Geeks, show number 283, recorded on November 3rd, 2016. Here in Home Gadget Geeks, we cover all the favorite tech gadgets that find their way into your home. News, reviews, product updates, and conversation, all for the average tech guy. I'm your host, Jim Collison, broadcasting live from the Average Guy.tv studios here. And Mike, I'm not sure fall is ever going to end here in Bellevue, Nebraska. I mean, it's been great.
Well, I was going to rely on you today for the weather because I did not step foot outside my house once. And usually there's at least one Amazon package that I need to go outside of the door to get. And there wasn't even that today. So I haven't stepped foot outside. But in the past few days, it's been phenomenal. Last night, we were watching the Cubs game and we were outside. Yeah, it was a little cold, but it was amazing.
It's great. This is global warming. I'm all for it. Bring it on.
Right?
November in Nebraska. And I'm out there in shorts. I mean, I literally walked out of the building in shorts today, and I thought, man, this is great. Anyways, we post a show with world-class show notes each week out at theaverageguy.tv. You can also catch us on the mobile app. Don't forget, we thank LastPass for their sponsorship of that. We moved them into December. They'll be Amber will be here in December for LastPass talking about it. But of course, they sponsor our mobile app. If you want to get access to it, the best way to really listen to Home Gadget Geeks on the road streams really, really well. HomeGadgetGeeks.com, and there's just big buttons for you to subscribe, Android or iPhone, right there. And of course, the Home Gadget Geeks is a part of the Geeks Network. Find the link to this show and many other great podcasts out at thegeeksnetwork.com. All right, well, super excited tonight. We have Erin Lawrence back. Erin joined me, it's just 2 months ago or so. Erin, a very popular show we did with you on the robot lawnmower. Thanks for coming back.
I am so glad to be here with you guys. Thank you so much for inviting me back.
Good to have you. We maybe the show, the only other show that eclipsed the robot lawnmower was barbecue. We did grills and barbecue tech, and we obviously, when you're talking about middle-aged men who have lots of disposable income, barbecue and food is the way to go. So that worked well. But the mower was a good one. We had a great time talking about that. That got a lot of traction. I know it was sad to have to give it back. Are you thinking, like, will you pick one? Will you pick it back up in the spring? How's that going to work?
I really tried to convince my husband and actually to rope in our neighbor on this because we could have done both our lawns with the same robot. And yeah, I think I have a little more selling to do on it, but it's a great product. It works amazingly. We were super glad to have it for the time we did. It's just one of those things where we've got to, if we want to keep it, we have to budget for it, and we're not quite there yet.
Yeah, the version you had, about 3,000, I think, is what there's a U.S. dollar amount in there. Pretty expensive, although Microsoft just came out with their new Surface Studio, which I don't know if you saw that in the announcements, lays down flat, right? Big 28-inch, 3x2, drafting quality. That's $3,000. No, let's stack those up. You're a gadget girl, so you understand this. Surface Studio robot lawnmower, same price. What do you
I just bought a new MacBook Pro because it's one of those things where I use it every day and I need it to be speedy and I need my equipment to work and function. If the lawn grows for a week or two because we don't cut it, it's not going to ruin my day. So I'd have to go with the laptop.
You're going to go with the laptop. What'd you pay for that? Can I ask? What was that in Canadian dollars?
In Canadian dollars? Gosh, what was it? I think it was around $3,000.
Wow, so that's right up there.
It's not one of the new ones. Not one of the new fancy ones. It's the previous generation, which fortunately they discounted a bit, so it made the timing really good.
Yeah. Well, it's work, right? That's how you make money. So
exactly.
You can't make any money off of a lawnmower. Well, I guess you could.
I could rent it out to the neighbors, sure.
Yeah, well,
maybe I'll try. Maybe we're onto something.
There you go.
Hopefully, we'll sell more of those, and the price on the mowers, the price will come down a little bit. And I am excited about this Pixel or this Surface Studio that's coming out. It looked very, very cool, and I think it could have some interesting applications. We talked about that last week, and so very, very cool. Very expensive, but maybe you'll get a chance to take a peek at one of those. Erin, out on your site, so if you go to techgadgetscanada.com, I think that's probably the best way to get there. I think you've done some amazing work over the last couple of weeks. I was going through my invites to bring people back on the show, and I said, I wonder what Erin's covering. So I go out there and take a look. and very easily found 4 great topics to talk about tonight on there. So again, if you're listening, Tech Gadgets Canada with an S, so gadgetscanada.com is Lawrence's site. Great stuff that's out there. You got a chance, and we didn't even talk about. So last week we covered the Microsoft announcement, we covered the Apple announcement, but Google snuck in a new phone in here a few weeks back, and you got a Pixel. So let's just hear from you. You've had it in your hands a couple weeks now. How are you liking the Pixel?
It is. I was actually really shocked by how much I like the phone. I'll say up front, I am not an Android user. I know almost nothing about Android devices. So all my stuff at home is Apple. That's what I'm used to. So when I reviewed the Pixel phone, it was very much as an Apple user. And one of the first things I noticed, and you guys can see it, I'm holding it up just for a quick view, but it looks a lot like an Apple iPhone. The lines are similar, the size is similar, some of the features and functions are very similar. There's a few improvements on it. There's some noticeable differences. For starters, it's got a fingerprint scanner in the back of the phone, which you kind of go, yeah, okay. But it's so convenient because when you're holding it in your hand, the natural position is for your finger just to be touching the sensor on the back, so you can always unlock the phone. It's really easy. So that was one of the things I really liked about it. And I just found it really easy to use. It was fast. It was responsive. And Google probably hates me for saying this, but it reminded me a lot of my iPhone, only better. So I've said to a couple people about the Pixel phone that this is probably the only phone that could make me leave my Apple iPhone.
Wow.
That's a big statement. I think Google would love to hear you say that, actually. It's like the iPhone, but better. It's good to hear.
When you say, so let's qualify that, Erin, a little bit. So you say better, right? In the sense you talked about the fingerprint, that's kind of just a location item of thing. And actually, I think I'd like them on both sides. There's no reason I couldn't have one sensor on the back and one on the front.
It is on both, actually.
Oh, is it? Okay, awesome.
It's on the front as well, yeah.
Okay, because that makes a ton of sense, right?
Ask and you shall receive.
Boom, right there. But what other features, when you think about it, I mean, sure, all cell phones kind of work about the same. Was it a speed thing? Was it a quality thing? Was it a usage thing? What else did you like about it that you found it where you're like, oh, man, this is really going to give the iPhone a run for its money?
I thought the assistant worked really well. I mean, Siri works pretty well on the iPhone. So in terms of, again, sort of matching Apple to Google, apples to oranges, apples to Googles, they kind of work the same. Let me see. I think for me, one of my favorite features of the Pixel phone is the camera. It's better quality. It does a little bit more. It's got some more different effects in it. I felt like it took better pictures. I am not a photographer by any means, but when I was sort of comparing the photos that I was taking at the same time and, just how they looked, I just felt like they were just a touch crisper on the Pixel phone. And I put this in my review, but they had, Google, I guess, had somebody from a camera review website. I think it's called DxO Mark. I'm not sure how you pronounce it. But they basically gave it a hugely high rating. I think they scored it 89 out of 100 and basically proclaimed it as one of the best smartphone cameras you can get your hands on today. And I really felt like from the video to the still photos to some of the nice effects that they have on it, it just worked really well. And I really liked the experience with it.
Mike, with the 7, the newest version iPhone, they've touted some camera improvements in that. Do you take it, Mike? Do you take some, do you beg to differ when we think, because Apple is touting some 2-camera different stuff you can do with the phone. Your thoughts on that, Mike?
When it comes down to the camera, I always think, I actually like the point of view that Erin had where it's not from a photographer standpoint, because that's what the photos really are, right? Like what looks best to us. And a lot of times, although I do think when I take the iPhone photos and put them maybe on a bigger display, or if I take them, put them on my TV or somewhere else, they might look better. I agree with her. I've seen some other phones, and maybe it's the display on the phone. Maybe the brightness is all the way up. I don't really know what it is, but in the moment, there are some other cameras out there that I think do take better photos. I haven't seen the Pixel, but I have no doubt that, someone who has gone back and forth from the iPhone to the Pixel could say, oh yeah, it does seem to take better photos. Apple's doing kind of some different stuff, right? They're adding 2 cameras to the back to do different portrait modes on the new 7. They're adding some new different features in that regard. But as far as crispness and stuff like that, I do think there's something to be said for other phones. And I think it's their display, to be honest. When you're looking at it on the phone, which 90% of the time, that's where we're going to look at them, they do look just that much better.
Erin, did you, which version? So do you have the smaller one or the larger Pixel? Which one?
I have the XL. It's the larger one. I think it's
larger, so
5.5 inches. Yeah.
5.5 inch. And then what version of what iPhone do you currently have that you're comparing it to?
The 6 Plus. So just up until recently, the latest, was the latest and greatest version.
Latest and greatest and gigantic.
The 6S Plus,
yes.
Right?
Right.
Okay,
yes, I have the 6S Plus, not the S Plus.
Not the S Plus.
Oh, Apple.
Yeah.
Can we just give them names or something? This one's Bob.
Right. Yeah.
Version 7 is Jeremy. Let's just.
But that would be Microsoft then if you did it that way. Microsoft is the one who did some crazy naming conventions.
Well, I used to love the Android when they still do it. Candies and stuff like that, naming their operating systems by candies. But then the only struggle with that is going back and trying to remember, like in chronological order, when they came out. Like, I have no idea.
I already couldn't tell you what operating system my Apple is running right now because I lost track after Mavericks.
Oh, yeah, exactly. I did too.
Should we, the question is, should we have to know? Like, I think we're beyond with phones and with PCs and stuff. I think we're beyond those days. Microsoft's trying to really get away from, they're going to have Windows 10 and it's just going to get updated and nobody should know or care. Now the Ulta geeks want to know like what they're on and for those folks, but for most really don't care. Do you even know? So on the Pixel, do you know what version of Android it's running?
Let me see if I have it here. I don't actually. And you know what? I probably wouldn't know.
Yeah.
I probably wouldn't know.
We don't even care anymore, right? For the most part, we just don't care. How does it feel from, I would not go with the older 5 version of the iPhone because it was too small. And the 6, this is a 6, and it's just, for me, it's the perfect size. And I think this is a 5-inch phone right on the 6. So this would be the smaller Pixel version of it. I love this. When we got to the bigger size iPhones, it was too big. I felt like it was just going to go flying out of my hands, right? How did the Pixel feel in your hand from a usage standpoint?
Well, for me, it's almost the exact same size as the iPhone, or the Pixel and the iPhone are pretty much identical for me. So for me, it was seamless. I wasn't noticing any difference in usage or feel in the hand. The only difference I had was I didn't have a case for the Pixel, which, using your phone without a case, it's always a little slipperier. Yeah. But that was the only major difference. And otherwise, they feel to me very similar. And in terms of distance for, what you can reach with your thumb and everything else, it's pretty much the same, at least for my setup here.
Okay. And then do you feel like without the case did you put a cover on it for the review, or did you leave it just naked plain?
It's naked plain. I haven't put anything on it just yet. I probably should.
I can't use a phone like that. I'll be honest with you. It's like, as soon as I get it, I'm like, okay, a case has to go on it and I got to put a screen shield on it. It's one of those things that makes me feel better about handling it. Out there.
Make no mistake, I'm very nervous when handling this. It usually goes into something soft or into a bag and into a secure pocket because I am a bit paranoid about dropping it.
How much longer do you have it for?
Probably a couple weeks. I've got a TV segment coming up here in Canada that I'm going to bring it on for. So
that's awesome.
Probably just till then.
Yeah. And then sadly, will you replace your next phone with the Pixel?
I will consider it. I'm not due to upgrade my phone. I don't know if it's the same in the US as it is in Canada, but you sort of have periods where you have to pay your phone out over a certain period of time. So I think I'm at least another year away from needing / being able to get a new phone without penalty. So we'll see what's up, what Apple's got then, and if there's a Gen 2 Pixel or what.
Here in the U.S., there's a period where it's expensive, and then there's a period after that where it's really expensive. Yeah. so those are the two categories. And we're moving towards a more where you just buy the phone outright. These Pixels, it's $900, like, it's the starting price, right? That's a little. Now, Mike, when we think about the 7 and the gigantic 7, what are those price points? Do you know?
And the thought crossed our mind at the same point. So I'm looking it up right now. I can't remember. I think it's right at $700.
Yeah, so pretty similar.
$769 for the Plus and $649 for the standard size 7.
Okay, so it's cheaper. I'm significantly cheaper. I mean, a couple hundred, maybe $200 from that. So Erin, as you think, I mean, that's a pretty big consideration. Now you would probably cushion that by paying that monthly over time, and so the difference isn't that big. Or have you thought about just buying your phone outright and just being done with it?
I haven't done it yet. It's just, especially in Canada, if you're talking about, 7, 8, 9, plus your 25%, which we pay on the exchange rate, that it costs more. It's a big chunk of change to come up with all at once. So I would say most Canadians will do the monthly plan. I haven't given it much thought in terms of just buying it outright. But that one of the things you touched on was the price of the Pixel. I had it for probably a good week or two before I even looked up how much it cost. And I had just assumed that, Google was coming up with this phone. There was a lot of talk about it being an Apple killer. And I just kind of assumed that it was going to be very inexpensive. And that would be the thing that drives all the Apple users to pick it up because it looks and feels just like the iPhone. But if it were significantly cheaper, everybody would want it. And I was actually really surprised when I looked up the price at how expensive it was.
Yeah, no, this is the first time I've looked, to be honest. Tonight when I was doing a little bit of work here, and I'm like, holy cow, this thing is not cheap.
Well, I think because they've gone mainly to the monthly model. In the United States here, it's that same way, right? You pay monthly. You're like, well, what's the difference between $25 a month or $30 a month? But really, that's a big difference if you were to buy it outright. And really, when you're buying it outright, it comes down to how long am I going to keep the phone? Because most carriers, at least here, once you've paid 50%, they'll take that phone from you, give you a new one, and you can start paying the monthly payments on that one. So if you're going to upgrade in a year, maybe then not buying it outright and just doing the monthly makes sense. But if you're going to keep it for 5 years, buying it outright makes a lot of sense.
Erin, last question on the Pixel around battery life. That much of a difference in battery life between that phone and your iPhone?
I haven't been using it as much as I would use my iPhone, but I charge it up once every, I would say 8 or 9 days, just based on the more limited usage of it. So, it's good. But that's the thing is when I got my brand new iPhone, first off, I could get a day and a half or sometimes 2 days out of it. But, with iPhones, they tend to drop off. So I'm at a spot now with the iPhone, the 6 Plus that I have. I've had it for probably about a year and a half, and I'm getting maybe 6 or 7 hours out of it now. So, how long will it last for how long? It's impossible to know with cell phones, right?
We're coming up. Oh, go ahead, Mike.
I was going to say, how was that transition from iOS to Android then? I mean, you said you liked it and it was, but Apple always touts it so easy. And then Android used to be the customizable option. But how was it actually trying to just, okay, let's go over there and see how it is coming from the iPhone?
I was a bit surprised at how intuitive it was. So I kind of thought, oh my God, I've got to learn a whole different operating system and everything's going to be in reverse and it'll be all totally different. And I found, at least with this phone, that there wasn't a lot that I had to sort of figure it out. It was very intuitive. A lot of the functions work the same. So I did enjoy that aspect of it.
Okay. Good to know.
It does charge super fast, right? I mean, that's part of the gig here, right? As you can plug that thing in and get in 15 minutes, you can get a pretty good charge.
Yeah, I think they call it lightning charging, or actually, no, wait, lightning is Apple. There's a, sorry again, Google. But yeah, I think it's 15 minutes can get you a good couple hours out of it. So, you don't need to keep it plugged in overnight or, for a couple hours before it'll be full on battery.
Yeah. And I'm almost, I'm at the 2-year mark, very close on my 6. And I got a great deal through Best Buy here in the United States. So it's $25 a month, but it's $30 a month. They paid 25 of it for me. Best Buy did. And so basically for $5 a month, do that 5 times 24, then it's a $200 payout. That's still cheaper than buying the phone new, right? It's pretty good deal from that standpoint. So I keep thinking, well, maybe I should hold on to this. I'll buy it outright, drop the $200, buy it outright. I haven't had any battery issues with this. It gets the same amount basically of charge today as it did 18 months ago when it was new. Now that hasn't been everybody's experience, and I'm usually pretty hard on my stuff, but I've had really good luck with it. So I will probably buy it outright and then hold on to it for whatever. And I may go into a situation where to review phones and such where I buy them and swap them and sell them back. That seems to be the way, right? Where you kind of you buy them and then get rid of them when they're still pretty new and discount it some for that. But yeah, I don't know. I think I'm going to stay on the 6. It's a great phone. Works for me. My kids are all on Android. So they have, they were Nexus. That's what they wanted. And so they went on to the Google line, and I'm going to stay on those for a while. They're all kind of my kids, huge surprise. They're all kind of anti-Apple. So I won't see, in fact, my wife won't even use an iPhone. She's only Google driven at this point.
That's really interesting. What is it they like best about the Android platform compared to Apple?
It's the weirdest thing because we've said for the longest time, right? Apple's easy. It's drop dead simple. Everybody just gets it, right? And Android's the customizable, right? It's lots of options, very, very confusing. Man, my wife can whip through that phone. She's got a big Note. She has a Note 4. Mm-hmm. She just loves that thing. And it got dropped, fully submerged, fully submerged in water. Pulled it out, put it in rice. All the indicators, all the moisture indicators went off. We nursed that thing back, and it's working again. And
wow.
Yeah, we're like, well, okay. And I'm going to buy that. We'll buy that. I don't know. To answer your question, I don't know. I totally confuses me because I should be the one with the Android and she should be one with the iPhone. And 2 years ago we did that, and she hated it and I hated it. Right? It's Galaxy S4. That thing would heat up to the temperature of the sun. Its battery life was terrible. Right? It was all those things. And at that point we flipped, and I've really liked what the iPhone brings. I don't monkey with my phone very much. Mm-hmm. And she doesn't either, but she really, she loves the big screen. And
that's the Apple Android divide, right? The people who love Android and hate Apple, and the reverse is true, right?
Yeah. Well, and I go either way, but the simplicity of the iPhone, I don't change anything. Like it drives my daughter crazy. She's like, you don't change your lock screen, you don't customize anything. And I'm like, zero. Like it's got to show up and work, because I don't want to mess. I do so much on it. I want it to work stock is what I want it to do. So for me, iPhone works great that way. I'll probably hold on to this for another year and see what Apple does. Although, Mike, I imagine it'll be a 7S and a 7, right?
Which sometimes I actually like more the S model, because instead of focusing on a big change to the aesthetics or the physical nature of the phone, they do some improvements that actually make sense and are a little bit more practical to the everyday user. So I'll be a little bit more excited to see what they do with that 7S, how they improve on that new form factor.
Yeah, well, Erin will cry the day you have to send that back in. We'll shed a little tear for you.
I'll make a little cardboard coffin for it to ship it back in.
That would be funny.
That would be really funny. I bet they'd send it back to me like, you can keep it. That was good.
I'll see what I can do. I'll have to look up my paper crafts on Pinterest or something.
Well, Erin has a great review on it, including a couple videos. So if you want to head out there and take a peek at that, we'll include the link to that review in the show notes if you want to do it. You also got an opportunity to review an iRobot Roomba, which is really cool because it's like the robotic lawnmower except indoors. Now, we've had Roombas a lot longer than we've had robot lawnmowers out there. But what makes this when it's the 980 version of it, and it looks pretty beefy and hefty. I kind of remember those early Roombas being like, if you kick them, they're going to fly across the room. This thing looked like it might put a dent in the wall if it runs into too hard. So, Erin, talk a little bit about your Roomba. And did you get to keep it, or did you have to send this one back too?
This one I have until I do another TV segment coming up in, I think it's December. So
you could get spoiled on that as well if it just
I know this is
automatically.
I'm gonna have to apparently build 2 cardboard coffins for shipping, but no. So it is heavy. It's big. I would say the 980. It's actually the same circumference as a previous model that I tried, which is the 880. It's just a bit bigger than a dinner plate, but it's about, I'd say, 2 or 3 inches tall, and it is very heavy. So it's got a lot of heft to it. It's got some weight to it. So no, it's not going to blow away in a storm or a breeze. And can everybody see this?
Yeah, they can all see it now.
Awesome. Okay. So it's got a bit of a sleeker control panel on it. They did away with some of the buttons that they had from previous versions. And that's because they've moved all of that control to your smartphone now. So you can actually control the Roomba 980 with your smartphone. Turn it on and off from the office if that's where you are and you forgot to set a timer for it maybe. You can set timers so that it'll come on a schedule all on its own. And, you can basically just tell it what to do from the comfort of your smartphone wherever you are. So that was one of the primary upgrades to this version was the cloud connectivity. The 980s also got an improved motor and something they call carpet boost, which actually gives it a bit more power to clean the carpets. Because that was, I always thought it did a pretty good job for a robot vacuum. It did a pretty good job of the carpets. But this one, they've changed it so that when the robot hits carpet, it actually cranks up the suction. So it's pulling more of the dirt out of those carpet fibers. You need more suction for that. But what they did is they adjusted the guts of the robot, I guess, so that when it's on floor, it doesn't use as much power. And that allows the robot to have a lot more battery life. So it can clean more rooms in your house. It can clean for longer without needing to recharge. And then there's a third improvement they made with this robot vacuum, and it's the navigation. When you pulled up that photo, Jim, it's kind of a camera, I guess, on the top. And it sort of uses that camera and another optical digital sensor on the bottom to figure out where it is in space and where it is in your room and where it is in relation to things in your room. So it starts to actually learn its way around obstacles and objects. And it's really cool because it's basically they've made it smarter.
There's a picture of you.
Sporting. There's my Google video, or my YouTube video, I should say.
YouTube video for it. I assume it's like the Roombas of old, where it's got a base station.
It does.
It reports back to. Yep. And what's the retail on this? You remember?
Canadian or US? I think this one is around. Well, I'll say around $1,000. It might be like $900-ish American and $1,100-ish Canadian. Okay. We're talking around $1,000, and it is a bit more expensive than previous versions. Yes.
And from your use of this, first of all, I've always been pretty skeptical. We have a pretty tight house here, the Collison house. Not a ton of carpet. Cat that's leaves a significant amount of fur hanging around. But I was always afraid, it was never going to get underneath the chairs. It would not, right? There would be too many obstacles in there. In your experience, and I'm assuming you let it run around the house and let it do its thing. How'd you feel? Did it feel cleaner? I mean, did you have it running every day? How'd you set up the schedule and how'd that work?
I have it running every other day, and I did the same thing with a previous one that I tried out. And I found we have one dog, a large black lab. So there are forever giant black dog hair tumbleweeds rolling down the hallways and in the corners of the living room and everything else. So I found that it worked. It's great for people with pets because you can just set it, forget it, and when you come home, all the pet hair is swept up. Whereas before we were testing it, you've got to get out the Swiffer sweeper or the broom or the upright vacuum, whatever you're going to do. And it's work you actually have to do and plan and schedule unless you just want to, not look at it and pretend it's not there. So I found that really helpful. And it's to the point now where I can come in the front door and I can tell that it's swept up because we're not seeing that, dog hair, or right now we've lost most of the leaves here in Calgary where I am. And of course they're all blowing in the front door and they're cluttering up the entryway. And it's fantastic because when the Roomba goes around, it's picking up the leaves, it's picking up the dog hair, it's picking up, dust and dirt in the kitchen. It's great for doing spot cleaning. I dumped some flour on the floor accidentally. And of course that's a nightmare to try and sweep up because it just becomes this big flour cloud while you're trying to sweep it. I placed the Roomba on top of the spill, and you've got a sort of spot clean function with it. And it just sweeps it all right up and goes back to its base station. It's fantastic. So I think depending on how much pet hair you have or how busy your household is, you could easily run it every day. I usually run it while we're out at work, just so that we don't. I mean, it's not super noisy, it's not super annoying, but just so we don't have to listen to it, and we can come home to a clean house.
And do you have it going through all the rooms as well, or just kind of in the living space?
Yeah, no, we have it through, our house is a bit open, so we have it do the sort of open kitchen, living room, dining room area. And then there's a bedroom I don't want it to bother going into, just because we've got some stuff stored in there, so the door is usually closed for that. And then it'll do the bedroom, it'll do the rugs, and the hallways and the bathroom.
How does it handle rugs in the, we have an Auric vacuum, and that thing, if I go over a rug, it's trying to suck the entire rug into the into the device, How does it handle rugs and such, throw rugs? Does it get stuck on them? How does that work?
With smaller throw rugs, we've got a couple just like little doormats by the front and back door, and it'll sort of push them and fold them up together. So, I mean, depends on how it catches it. Sometimes it'll go over them and actually vacuum them. But because those particular rugs are really light, it just sort of pushes them off into the corner and does away with it. The bath mat, it's got a rubber backing on it. So the robot can actually get up onto it without pushing it away. And so it will clean and vacuum that. And then we've actually got a larger shag rug in the living room. And I was a bit concerned about how it was going to clean with that, because, shag is tough to clean on the best of days, let alone when you're a small autonomous robot. And it actually does a pretty good job. I mean, we will still give it a good vacuum with with the big vacuum every now and then. But for, just crumbs and little bits and leaves and things that, happen to float around in there, it does a great job.
Would you call it a replacement could you, in theory, let this be, you're spending $1,000. Can it completely replace your vacuum? Or are there still times you're going to have to pull some things out to get the special needs or whatever out of the carpet?
It's not a replacement vacuum. We have a Dyson that we've had for many years, and we still need to, there's a lot of things you can't do with a robot vacuum. You can't do stairs. You can't vacuum curtains. You can't vacuum the sofa or a chair, if somebody gets crumbs on it. So for me, what it is convenience. It's the convenience of not having to, every other day Swiffer up all that dog hair or whatever's kicking around the house. It's just, it keeps the house tidier in general. But when it comes to having to do deep cleaning, you still need something else to do that.
Yeah. Well, it's $1,000 of convenience, right? And for in the right marketplace, right? And especially with pets, this could be a situation with allergies. And do you feel like it's with the dog hair or the cat hair, what have you? Do you feel like it's picking up enough of that stuff as it's going over? It's getting at all that, and is it easy to clean out and those kinds of things? Because I imagine this is where people would be really convenient, is where we think about allergies.
Absolutely. There's a video on my YouTube channel, which if you just go to YouTube and search Erin Lawrence TV, I empty out the bin and sort of show you what comes out of there. And especially with the newer 980 model, it's got a lot more suction. So it is picking up a lot more of everything. You pull sort of the bin out of the back of the robot, take it to the garbage, and there's a little trap door in the back of the bin that you basically just open up, dump it into the garbage, close it back up, and put it back in the robot, and you never have to touch anything, really. Yeah. It's very convenient.
Does it tell you when it needs to be, like, you get an alert on your phone or anything? It's like, hey, clean me out?
Yes. And actually both of them have little lights on the robot itself it tells you that the bin is full. But with the 980, because it has that cloud connectivity, if you're checking the app, yes, it will tell you that it wants to be emptied.
Does it build any kind of internal map? I ask you this with the robot lawnmower. Like, you would think after enough passes, it would build a pretty good map of what it's after and where obstacles are. Any kind of functionality of that with the cloud service?
It's hard to tell because I can see it sort of going in more of a linear pattern than previous models, but it doesn't really show you on the app. Do you know what I mean? It would be great if you could see exactly where it's cleaned. It doesn't do that. So is it learning, or how much is it learning, or is it just seeing things sort of that are in front of it and going, oh, okay, I'm not going to fall down that stairs? I think I don't know the answer to that, but my sense of it is that I think it's just reacting to situations that it finds itself in. So I'm not going to go down the stairs, as opposed to, I recall the stairs are just around this corner. I'll back off.
Yes. Or go by it, go straight by it, as opposed to, I think that's, when we think both of a Roomba and the mower, I think that's the next generation of thought, is these devices being able to collect data about the environment, build a smart map for itself, and then have some, we got all these whiz kids that'll figure out the right algorithms to give them an efficient, I think of that robot or the robot mower, and I think that's still a very random, right? It's out there just cutting random.
Yeah.
And you get your lawn done kind of by chance.
Yes, just by virtue of the fact that it does enough passes that it eventually catches everything. Exactly.
Yeah. And I think it shouldn't be that way. Like we have all the processing power, we have all the data. If it's connected to the cloud, it could be sending little bits of data up to help build that map and to kind of know, hey, this is where I've been. And then you could really get nice lines, right? That's really all I want.
Me too. That's all I go for.
You could cut Go Cubs or something into your lawn,
wow,
right?
Nicely done. Nicely done. The whole world must have been rooting for the Cubs. That's what I'm kind of thinking. Were you hoping
we
the
were
Cubs
rooting for Cleveland.
Oh, sorry.
But there's a family history with Cleveland, so. Okay. But you know what? Either way that would have gone, both of those teams really deserved.
Yeah, I know, but the Cubs really needed
it. They had a dry spell longer, I think, didn't they?
They did. 100 years or something, right?
108 years. 1908 was the last time.
Yeah.
It's a long time.
Mike, robot vacuum in your house today, got a new child. Life is not as easy as it used to be. Worth $1,000 for you to have something clean in the floors?
I think so, especially with our dog. If we didn't have a dog, but the only thing I'm worried about is the capacity, like to hold all of the stuff that comes up. Like we have the one where I have to empty it out right now, and one pass through our living room, dining room, everything. It's a bin this big and it's full of dog hair. It is just packed to the brim. So I don't know. I don't know how much it would go until I'd be like, okay, I'd get the alert on my phone and have to go empty it. But other than that, yes, I think it would definitely be worth $1,000.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
There you go. So we should Erin, ship yours to Mike, or if anybody's
I'll pack
listening.
it in the coffin when I'm done, and
anybody's
send it
listening
right off
to this,
a note that says, "Hey Roomba, Mike could use one of these." He'll feature it in the vlog. Him and his wife will talk about it all the time.
There you go.
Tell all their friends.
Yep.
Got to add that to your vlog. Erin, anything else on that when we think about the form, features, functions of the cleaner?
Those were the highlights: the improved navigation, the cloud connectivity, and the improved motor and the carpet functions on the new one. So if anybody has previous experience with Roombas, it's like a Roomba, only better.
Okay, improved. It's cool that they're still making them, because that's a pretty boutique item. Like when we think about, again, it's back to that idea of who's really, not a lot of people have $1,000 to just drop on a vacuum cleaner. So it's interesting.
This is where Roomba's got it right, though, is they've actually got several different models at different price points. So if you kind of want to try that experience out, I think, and I probably shouldn't guess at the prices, but I think there's something closer to $500 or $600.
I think it was like,
I know my sister and her husband. Yeah. I know my sister and her husband picked up one for about that price. And, I've looked at it, I've compared it. It's got a lot of the same features as the previous 880 model. So the Roomba's doing something really smart. They're really trying to make different models accessible to different groups of people at different phases of their life and different financial situations. Their robot mopping vacuum as well, I think it's only like $139 or $169. And I've had hands-on with that one as well, and was really surprised at how well that one cleans too.
Well, there you go. So the price points are down, the options are there. I've been wanting to try these. It would be great for our house. We're getting ready to get rid of our last kid. So we're thinking about college. It's just going to be the two of us and the cat. And how cool would that be if I leave the house and there's a robot mower and a robot vacuum cleaner? that is just doing their jobs when we leave. It's a
All
little
your
bit,
dreams have come true.
little bit like the Jetsons. A little bit like the Jetsons. Hey, let's transition a little bit. I wanted to talk about, you had this interesting thing, and this may not necessarily be a tech gadget, so to speak, that would come here, but these Flow Smart thermometers that I found kind of interesting. We've got some folks work in the healthcare industry and some of those, but you took a look, and let me pop those up on the screen because I think this is one of those things. We'll try to describe them for our audio only listeners as well. Let me focus in on that. So, Erin, first of all, how did you come across this? Was this them reaching out to you, or how did you come across an item like this?
Yes, yeah. Public relations company reached out to me. Somebody that I've done work with before. It's a new product for them, and they really wanted to get it out to into some people's hands for testing. So they sent me one of them, and it's really straightforward. It's easy to use. It's small and compact, and it works without touching. So, I mean, when you think about a thermometer, about the places you're going to potentially put it and the germs that are in those places, you don't want to have to clean that and
use it over and
use
over.
it again, right? Like, that's nasty.
Yeah.
So this one works.
We don't really think about that very much, though. I think the modern thermometer, for the most part, up until maybe the 90s when we started getting maybe the ear ones or the ones you would lay on your forehead or whatever. Mm-hmm. But I don't know if that design has necessarily changed at all. And then all of a sudden, no, I shouldn't say all of a sudden, but Flow Smart comes on. Talk a little bit about how it works, because I think it's interesting, right? No touch thermometer, right?
You basically point it. So there's kind of a round end at the bottom. It almost parallels the shape of an old-fashioned thermometer. So rounder bottom end, and then it narrows to a sort of tapered end at the top. And what you basically do is you just point it at your skin. So point it at your forehead if you're taking, your temperature, and push and hold the button. And it works with a companion app. So we've got the app loaded up. It kind of works in two ways. You can get the temperature on the device itself. It gives you a colored light. If your body temperature is acceptable, it's at a normal temperature, it gives you a green light. If it's not, you get, I think it's a red or an orange light. Similarly, you can use the app that it comes with if you want a more precise temperature reading. And you can store all that data. You can share that data. You can send it to your doctor if you need to, or to somebody else. And it's really easy to use, and it makes sense when you think about, all the germs that are on thermometers.
Yeah, just point and click. We've had, and I'm sure it's using some of the similar technology that has gone into, we did this, you can buy these guns and you just point them at various surfaces, and they'll tell you how warm things are. I'm sure it's similar, right?
Yes, exactly. Yeah, exactly. And you can actually use this particular thermometer, the Flow, to take the temperature of, like a baby bottle for you, Mike. Oh. So if you just point it at the bottle, grab your temperature reading, it'll tell you sort of if it's too hot, too cold, or what the exact temperature is.
See, that's interesting. If you could have a multiple use thermometer, that'd be nice, because we have the temporal one that we just stick on the forehead and it tells you. But one that I could use for other things, if you could use it for grilling, they'd have me. If I could be my grill thermometer, I'd probably be set. But
I should ask about that. I wonder.
Are there temperature ranges on there, Erin, as far as tolerances that it will only take certain temperature readings between these temperatures?
I don't know. I actually don't know that, Jim.
Interesting. Well, we'll throw the link to the website out there. $50, $49.99 here in the United States for those. And we'll throw the link to the company website as well if you want to take a look at those. I love the idea. You're right. Just get the germs off a little bit, and again, it's not too much different. I'd actually like to see if there's a distance. Can you shoot that across the room and hit your hit the family member, so you don't have to be too close to them. Kind of like, ooh, you're not looking so good.
They are infectious, right?
Yeah,
you're not looking so good. Well, it is flu season, and we are all going to be. Unless you got your flu shot and you already have the flu, then at that point. But it's coming up. That time is coming up, and I found this kind of interesting. These are the cool little gadgets that show up that you don't get a lot of press or a lot of talk or whatever. But it's a great one of these things to keep keep one or two of them around the house and just take a quick temperature. And be done. So did you find yourself taking your temperature a lot when you were at different,
Yeah, for a couple
try-
days when I was testing it out, it's like,
Right.
oh, am I warm now? What about here? What about here? What about you? How
Do I
are
have a
you?
fever?
Are
Kind of makes you a little paranoid. Mike, this would probably be something good for you guys.
I'm down. Yeah, I'm looking at it right now, actually.
Yeah, I think you guys might really enjoy this. Last thing, Erin, on your site, you kind of sat down, you talked a little bit about cabling and cables and accessories, and you worked through that. I noticed the picture. I got to show this. Let me show this picture. This is kind of fun. I never actually thought about doing this, but you've got a cable and nice little knot in there, which is interesting. I have moved to a braided cable as well for some of the stuff that I'm doing, and find them very durable, which is kind of interesting. They don't slide across things very easily. Sometimes they get caught up in stuff, but I have found them very, very durable. What was as you moved into this, looking at charging cables and accessories for your phone? Why and what were you trying to work out in this blog post?
My primary problem was that all the cables that come with your devices, particularly with the Apple devices, which I'm used to, are uselessly short. If your phone dies and you've still got to use it for something, you are basically nose first into the wall, standing there while your phone charges, trying to do your work. And it drives me nuts. So I started looking around for longer cables. And I found a couple of companies, Native Union being one of them, that makes not only longer cables that are a useful length, so you can plug it in, across the room and still be sitting on the couch doing your work if you have to. But they're attractive. They're pretty. Like, they're braided, like you said. They come in different colors. They look good. And they feel good as well, because I think charging cables in particular have been so utilitarian for so long. People just don't give them a second thought. But when you think about it, they're accessories that you can personalize. They're making them with little leather ties and things, and a lot more interesting color schemes. And it's just nice to have some of those little things be a little more attractive.
Yeah. Yeah. What did you find? So in this post, you talked a little bit about, I love the braided cables. That's something we've been using. I've been using Tech Armor cables, and I really like those here. It's a brand, pretty easy to get on Amazon. Did you find, one of the interesting areas in cabling is these base stations or these charging stations, and the variety of those. At night, I'll be honest, I bought 2 cables. I put one in my bedroom. I put one in my backpack, and they're long. You're right. They're long. Yeah. I like mine to be, 3 or more feet long. But in the area of charging stations or whatever, have you found anything? It seems like there's a million different brands and a million different designs, but nobody seems to be getting it right. Did you find anything different that's working?
I've got 2 right now that are on the website. One of them is by Native Union, and the other is by a company called Grovemade. Grovemade uses a lot of natural wood in their tech accessories, which is kind of a nice touch when you're dealing with a lot of, metal and plastic. Their dock has a really super heavy metal base, and then it's got kind of a wooden cover over it, which just makes it look a little more attractive. I love that. The other one that I'm testing out by Native Union is just, again, sort of a heavier metal base that's got a bit of a rubberized coating on it, and a really nice, sleek, brushed aluminum, I think it is, back that just lets you sit the phone in it. It looks attractive, it's pretty, it does the job, and it just keeps your phone sort of upright where you can see it, where you're not having to fumble for it on a table or on a surface.
Yeah, we'll show one of those. So that's which one is that?
That's the Native Union one.
Okay.
And you can change the cords that go in it. You can get it for Apple or Android. It's just a matter of swapping your preferred cable in or out of it, and it runs securely underneath it in a little channel, so it sits flat. And super handy, works great.
Yeah, Mike, what do you do? How do you charge your phone? What, just cable, throw it on the counter, and you're done, or how's that work for you?
Yeah, we have one of those Anchor 5 ports, and then I have the braided cables as well. I got a pack that came with 5 different lengths, which work out pretty well for traveling. Just grab the length you want. So we have the very longest ones in our bedroom that kind of just go there. And with my phone, I don't charge too often to a wall besides at night. Otherwise, I use the big battery pack. This thing will charge my phone 10 times. So for travel, I just take this with me, and I'm all set.
Which brand is that?
This is Anchor. I love Anchor products. I've gone pretty much all Anchor now with all power, cords, everything, and they're really, really high quality products, which I really like. And this is, I think, one of their biggest options for battery.
Does that have the cord built into it? So you open it up, pull it out.
It does
and
not. It's
okay.
it's got two USB ports and the charging port up top. So.
Erin, the only difference I'd say on this with cabling is in my car, I have a dash mount, one of those magnets. Here it is. We use one of these whiz gear, use one of these whiz gear that go in. By the way, it's best $7 I ever spent. These things are, I have 4 of these. Yeah. They're just awesome. Plug it in, snap the phone on, we've got on the iPhone, it's got the metal piece right there sitting there. But I want a short cable when I'm driving. I want to plug it in, and I listen most of the time, long trips or whatever. Even Omaha to Lincoln's an hour, and I can get a podcast in that time. So I'll charge the phone in to plug it, I'll plug the phone in to charge it. And when I do that, I want a really short cable, and so I found those sometimes hard to get. The ones I want them maybe 6 inches because I don't want any. I want to take it right from the. You don't
want it cluttering up the dash or the stick shift or the radio controls. Yeah.
And again, that was, I found, I think a Tech Armor braided, which works out really, really well. That was really, really short, 4, 5, 6 inches, something like that. Not very long. And so for those special, it's not like you can make your own cables, right? So for those special, I loved being able to buy a 6-foot or whatever. I don't think it's 6. I think it's 3. But for, fish, I got a fish. It was that big. But for the car, it was nice to be able to get the shorter ones as well. The one in the car needs to really be good quality because 1, it's going to be heat and cold. 2, I'm going to be plugging it in and unplugging it probably 3 or 4 times a day. And so, that just takes a lot. I broke the one that came with it. That one was gone within 3 months, probably 3-4 months. It was done. So that is an area I find with cabling, and you probably do too. It's probably worth the price to pay a little bit extra to get a really good cable.
It absolutely is. I've bought, the $2 or $3 cables from China. I've tried, cheap cables from the cell phone store. And anymore, if I need a cable, I'm just going to spend the money and get a good quality one because they work, they last, and you're not replacing them. I mean, you're paying, $30 compared to $3, but you're only going to pay that $30 once as opposed to the last round of cheap cables that I bought. I bought a handful of them for $3 a piece, and they're all in the garbage now.
Yeah, they all stop working. So, well, Erin, great stuff. I'll remind folks that if they want to head out there, and this is probably a site you should come back and look at regularly, techgadgetscanada.com. And we just highlighted 4. You talked about a really cool, it's like a blow dryer, right? There's no moving parts. It's like taking that, and I don't, what do they call that concept where what is that called?
That was the Dyson Supersonic hair dryer. So they shrunk the motor down, added the Dyson air multiplier, which is a whole different level of technology, and completely changed, what the blow dryer looks like and how it works. So that was really cool. There's video and a full article up on the website about that. If you want to check it out.
Go ahead and take a peek at that as well. Erin, I'm kind of starting to think about, with these new Bose headphones that have come out, the new Quiet Comfort, they're like $350. They're super expensive. It has re-energized my desire to have a really good set of headphones. Mike and I talked about this, I think, on the show. Was it last week or 3 weeks ago?
I think 3 weeks ago. Yeah.
Having trouble pulling the trigger on 350. I'm sure noise canceling headsets are right in your target zone, right? I've seen some Plantronics, which I didn't know about that existed. Those are like in the 130 to 170 category. Then there's a whole bunch of Chinese knockoffs that you can get for like $70. Have you worked with any? I didn't prep you for this question at all. I'm just asking you cold. Have you messed with anything from noise canceling that you really liked in the last 6 months or so?
I have. I'm trying to think. I did a set of Monster headphones that were really good. I tried a set of Sony's, and the headset I'm wearing tonight is another Sony set. It's a wireless. It's actually a sports headphone set. Not that you guys. Now,
were those over the ear? Because I'm really interested in getting the over the ear. I'm comparing everything to the Bose Quiet Comfort Are those 85s, Mike? What are the new ones? 35s?
Something like that.
Yeah, I
I have
should
the
know.
15s.
They're expensive.
They're
right?
really expensive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They-
There are some really great headphones out there right now. I think I've probably tried 6 or 8 different sets of headphones in the last year or so. Some of the over ears, some of the in ears, some sports. And I've been really impressed with the quality of what's out there. And particularly as more of the wireless earbuds are starting to come online, thanks to the Apple AirPods. I tried the Samsung Icon X version. I've got another version that just came in that I'm trying out, also fully wireless. So, I mean, you guys want to talk headphones in the future? We can run down a whole list.
That would be fun. We'll have to maybe have you back in. I think, for one of these, when we think about a price point standpoint, in most cases, I think to get really good quality, I'm going to spend at a minimum, let's just say it's going to probably be $200. I don't think anything below that. Plantronics version, one of the guests had talked about a couple weeks ago. They had and then they immediately came out with a new version as soon as we talked about it. Like the next week, they had a new version out. And it took it from like 139, which I think was a little low because they were trying to get rid of that inventory, almost 200 at that point. So let's just say it's between 200 and 350. And Mike, let me ask you, you start thinking about this and you're thinking, okay, really good quality. The difference is $150. In the big scheme of things, it's not that much, right? You just go 350, right? Is that what you do when you're thinking about this?
I've always said the only way I do it is if you travel in planes a lot. They save my life because I'm in a plane, 4 times a week. And so it's the only way I can sleep on a plane anymore. But that's the only time I use my Bose headphones is when I'm on a plane. Otherwise, they're just too big and bulky for me every day. The new ones I'm interested in are these Jaybirds. They're Jaybird brand. They're earbuds. They're not over the ears, so it doesn't fit your qualifications, Jim. But as far as over the ear, I don't know. I don't know if you do make the jump. I think that extra 150 does make a difference for some people. Just depends on what you use them for.
Yeah. Well, and it gets cheaper. The newer ones are all Bluetooth, right? I mean, again, Erin, you just mentioned this. Apple's going to do exactly what's going to happen is exactly what they want to happen is everything's going to go, we're going to be forced for the most part to go Bluetooth, which by the way, I love. I'm glad. Like the days of wires should be no more, right?
Yeah,
we need to fix our Bluetooth standard. It needs to work and without latency and without problems. I mean, Bluetooth is terrible from what it used to be. I think it'll get better now that Apple's kind of forcing the issue. It'll be interesting to see if Android follows suit and starts removing, does the same kind of thing. I don't think they will until some really good devices comes out. I think they're going to sit on the sidelines and go, hey, let's let everybody kill themselves on Apple products, right, to get that done. And when they get it right, we'll do it as well. But go ahead, Mike.
Well, the other thing I was going to put on your radar, Jim, is checking out open-backed headphones. They're kind of making a resurgence. They were popular a while ago, so they're big over ear, but they're not closed in, so they're not noise canceling. So it lets in kind of the ambiance from wherever you're at. Because my biggest complaint about wearing noise canceling headphones outside of the plane is that if you're using them in your office or in your home, first of all, you can't hear anything. So if someone's trying to get your attention, you have to see them like snapping in your face because you really can't hear. And second of all, you don't notice how loud you're doing things like breathing or chewing your food. And all of a sudden you'll take them off. And because like in my area at my office, and you'll take them off, you're like, oh my gosh, I was probably making the most annoying noises or I was tapping my feet. So these open back, you get a really good sound. I mean, when you talk about sound quality, Jim, these open backs, they have ones that are fantastic sound that sometimes blow Bose out of the water, but you're not limited by the noise cancellation. You're actually still in the room that you feel like you're in the room. You hear some of the outside noises, which are nice. So kind of a little bit different. So just like I said, I think it all depends on where you're using these headphones at.
Yeah, 99% of the time I'd be on a plane. Erin, do you travel much? Do you get the opportunity to travel around? Do you use noise canceling stuff when you're traveling?
I do, and I like to. And actually, to Mike's point, there's a couple of new headphones, and now I'm trying frantically to think of the brands. But they have the digital noise canceling, so you can actually set your level of. It's got a mic on the outside of the cans, so you can set the level to hear as much or as little of what's going on around you as you want to.
Okay.
And I've tried one pair of those that actually this worked fantastically. You can totally crank it up. So, if you're walking down the street and it's late at night and you just want to be aware of your surroundings, traffic, whatever, you can turn it up. If you're at home, you just want to listen to the TV, you don't want to hear the kids screaming, you don't want to hear whatever else is going on in the next room, you just turn it totally off. And it actually works pretty good. It's pretty impressive. Technology
That sounds like
amazing.
a perfect balance. I need to look those up and find out what brand they are.
Well, Sony has their premium now that they just came out with pretty recently here. They're $400, but they have that ambient sound option where you can say let that in, or the higher, like on an airplane, of course, the pilot comes on and that noise is at a way higher frequency, and so sometimes it'll let that in, but leave the hum of the aircraft out. And what they're starting to do too is turn your music down when those announcements come on. Mm-hmm. So when it senses there's that outside noise that you would need to hear, like the pilot saying, like, I missed this announcement. We were flying down to Gainesville, and I was looking out the window and I'm like, man, I think I've seen that area like 6 times now. And we were circling. I didn't know because I had my earbuds in and I had them cranked up, and I couldn't hear anything. And so I had no idea. Likewise, I was flying back from Denver one time and we're coming into Omaha, and then I feel the plane turn to the right. And it's like, guys, I could see the city of Omaha, and a big thunderstorm was rolling through, and they were diverting us to Kansas City. Well, they had announced that, and I pulled my earbuds out, and I looked at the guy next to me, and he goes, you missed the announcement. We're going to Kansas City. And that's one of those things, like, because I had I had it too loud in my ears. I didn't hear it. So I love that idea of being able to bring some ambient sound in or the critical stuff in. Well, I didn't realize. I thought Bose had the top of the line expensive, at $350. These new Sony premium noise canceling Bluetooth. It's their 1000 MDR 1000 XB model, $398. Yikes!
Yeah, I think Bose is $349 for their.
It's no Roomba, and it's no Husqvarna.
It's no MacBook.
That's right. No MacBook and no Surface Studio, but it is, Erin. I think maybe we'll have you back on. I'm going to make this. I do a bunch of traveling in the spring, and so I've been holding off Christmas. And to be honest with you, it's tough for me to let $350 go on a pair of headphones. You're kind of like,
well, and you don't want to do that on something you haven't been able to test too, right? Because that's the thing about headphones is they're so personal, and everybody has different nuances that they like. You got to get them right, especially when you're spending that much money.
Well, the Bose are in the Microsoft store, and when I went to Indianapolis for our meetup, I happened to put a pair on and synced it up to the phone and started playing some music. And of course, you have to listen to the Star Wars soundtrack when you do something like that. That's pretty spectacular. And literally, you put those on your head, and I think they start massaging you. It's so good. It's like butter. It's like bacon.
Massages the wallet out of your back pocket into your hand. All of a sudden, your credit card's out. You have no idea how it got there.
Oh yes. And I just thought, these are so good. So now I can't stop thinking about them. So anyways,
Christmas is coming.
It is coming. Erin, speaking of coming, anything coming up? What have you got? You in pre-show, you showed us you got a few boxes. What kind of things will you be working on in the future that you can talk about?
Let's see. I've got the whole suite of Roku streaming TV devices that I'm doing a review for. Nice. I have a bunch of new smart home lighting gear from Philips, including a motion sensor, which I've been testing out for all their smart lights.
Because we're Philips here. That's kind of what I kind of landed on. So I'll be interested in seeing some of that stuff.
Yep. I've got, what else have I got? Oh, check this out. This is going to be huge, I think, this year. A company called Nanoleaf is making a lighting product called the Aurora, and they are flat LED panels that you can just stick to the wall with, those command adhesives, the removable adhesives. Configure the triangles into all kinds of different shapes, controlled with your smartphone. I mean, you can literally put these lights anywhere. And they've got a really long cord on them, so, they'll reach places. And it's kind of meant to be this art/lighting/decorative thing. And I just installed them yesterday, and I'm already in love. They are going to be pretty cool.
Nice. Do they multicolored or just white?
Yep. No, you can make them all the same color. There's preset different effects for them. So there's like a fireplace effect where each triangle, there's red and orange and yellow and soft white, and it just flickers like a fire.
Oh,
And there's another one called forest where they just sort of morph through these little greens and soft yellows, and man,
it's beautiful.
That'd be
Oh, yeah.
awesome.
Beautiful. Yeah, the Philip Hues, the lights, the colored ones, you can set certain scenes. And there's like a dance scene that you can set, and it'll flash them all different colors and do all kinds of different things in a room the way you want to. I think the prices are coming down. Would you know what those retail for is it a triangle? Do they sell them just one or in sets?
The starter kit, which is actually called a smarter kit, is 9 panels. I'm not sure what it is. I haven't had a chance to look it up yet. And then they do expansion kits beyond that of 3 panels at a time.
Well, lighting's interesting. We're getting ready to move in a year or so from here, and I don't want to put anything too permanent in because
Right.
it's like, you have to rip it out. You don't want to sell the house with a bunch of home automation in it, like,
Yeah.
because the next person's like, what the,
Well, fortunately, with light bulbs, you can just undo them, put in the
Right.
incandescents, take your hub with you, and
Yeah,
you're good to go in the new
get
place.
some super cheap ones and just say that's the way it is. So cool. Well, I'll encourage folks to follow Erin's blog, and we've said it a bunch of times. I'll leave the link to it in the show notes if you want to take a peek out at that. You should follow it. I imagine RSS feed and whatever, however you follow it, is something you should follow on a regular basis. Erin, thanks again for jumping back in here, and you're such a great guest. Thanks for doing it.
Oh, thanks so much, you guys. And Mike, it was nice meeting you. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, great meeting you.
Hang around for just 1 sec. Let me close up the show, and if you want to stay around for a little bit of post show, we can do that as well. But let me remind everyone: take full advantage of our Patreon link that's out there. Many of you have, and we appreciate that. Of course, you know that Amazon. If you've been listening to the show, Erin, Amazon kind of screwed me by. I shouldn't say it that way, but they canceled my affiliate link because of the way we advertised for them. And so I did a whole show, and not a whole show, but a good chunk of one, as I got a little bitter about them saying, nope, your affiliate, you violated your affiliate relationship. And so my Amazon affiliate link's gone at this point. Which,
What?
yeah, for a podcaster is a super important thing. So we've been encouraged. Patreon's a great company, great way of supporting the podcast. Not as easy as Amazon, but we have $1 and $5 plans out there. If you want to support us for a single month or reoccurring months, super easy to do that. Many of you have, so I appreciate you doing that. Head out to theaverageguy.tv/support, or just go to the page and look for the Patreon logo all the way on the right-hand side of the menu there in the toolbar, and you'll be able to get that. Don't forget, you can send me an email if you want to give us show feedback. This would be a great one to get some feedback on. Send me an email, jim@theaverageguy.tv, or on Twitter. Erin, how do we find you on Twitter?
I am at Erin LYYC on Twitter and on Instagram, and I'd love to hear from the listeners.
Yeah, and a great one to follow because you tweet about the stuff that you're looking at, and very interesting. So follow
Always
Erin.
on social media first.
You bet. Of course, the AverageGuy.tv platform, both web and media hosting, powered by Maple Grove Partners. Get secure, reliable, high-speed hosting from people that you know and you trust. You know that's Christian. He's super busy in school, but does a great job hosting. For more information, visit maplegrovepartners.com. Don't forget that plans, easy podcasting plans, start at $10 a month. So super inexpensive, covers both web hosting and legitimate media hosting as well. So maplegrovepartners.com. Thanks, Roger, out at WLMN Radio in Grafton, West Virginia. And Mike, even though we moved that Grafton thing up to the beginning of the show, got nothing. But
No.
I'm sure they're listening in Grafton. So Grafton
yeah.
folks, we appreciate you listening out there. You can also listen to Home Gadget Geeks on the Android and iPhone app available. We'll thank LastPass for their sponsorship of that app for us. It's free. You can download it from any of the 2 stores. Just head out to homegadgetgeeks.com and download it from there. We're excited about LastPass. They have some pretty cool announcements coming up, and they just, I think, made an announcement today. I need to go out and take a peek at it. But lots of good stuff going on at LastPass. We were super glad that LogMeIn has not ruined them like they've ruined some other companies. And so we're excited about what's going on at LastPass and thank them for their sponsorship. Don't forget, if you haven't signed up for the newsletter, do that. I'll get back on track, get that out to you on a regular basis. And we appreciate you guys listening. We are live every Thursday, 8 p.m. Central, 9 Eastern, out here at theaverageguy.tv/live. I mentioned that we have LastPass coming back, but next week, Randy Cantrell's coming on. This can be fun. We're going to talk about hi-fi audio stuff. So if you're interested in super awesome, interesting audio, Randy will be in, and he's just great to talk to. So, and then after that, Rich Hayes coming in right before Thanksgiving. Rich Hay will be here to give us an update on all things Microsoft. Of course, he's a Microsoft MVP and was just out of the MVP Summit, so we'll have a ton of Microsoft chat with Rich Hay in a couple weeks. We're back next week, 8 p.m. Central, 9 Eastern, out here at the AverageGuy.tv live. And with that, we'll say goodbye, everybody.